Hey everyone, this is Austin Gates, and today I'm filming from my lovely and wonderful car. You can definitely tell that I'm a college student using every bit of time that I have to get everything that I want to get done. So class got out early and I'm going to make a video for you guys. Real quick, I just wanted to tell you this is part 2 of the video series thing I got going on here for Still Fighting It. And I really wanted to talk about characterization and development of those characters. One of the really great things about writing fan fiction is that you're able to already have characters set out for you, and you don't really need to develop them as much, or at least give the audience an understanding of them, because they already know who those characters are from the original work, the original creation, which is great. And I love that about the show. The only other thing is that with something that's ongoing, likely, where you still have episodes being cranked out at the same time that I was writing, is that the evolution of those characters is very different on the show than it is in the story. I think that while Sam and Blaine in my story stay fairly true to the characters, they're very different than the characters on the show. I think that Blaine especially is very different in my story than how we see him now in the middle-ish of season 3. Sam as well, I think he sticks a little bit closer to who we see Sam being, but I also think that you see just a different side of him. I think you see Sam as being someone who's more emotional and emotionally grounded in Still Fighting It than in the show. But I think the thing to remember, at least as a reader, or the thing that I would hope my readers would remember, is that I really did start writing pretty early on. I published the prologue on fanfiction on November 19th of 2010. So we were really only a few episodes. I think it was right around where Gwyneth Paltrow's first episode was, The Substitute. So we really didn't know a lot about Blaine at all. And we really didn't know a whole lot about Sam. I think we knew a decent amount, but there was a lot we didn't know about the canon character of Sam. And that's why in Still Fighting It, you don't see him having siblings. In Still Fighting It, Blaine is much more grounded and mature and I hate using this word, but I'll use it, dapper, than in what we see now, halfway through season 3. So there were always reasons for that. In writing the characters, I really wanted to make sure that I didn't overdevelop supporting characters. I think that's a pitfall that I fall into a lot, and I really wanted to stay away from that. So you see a lot of it, especially in the characters at Dalton. There's certain students that we meet at Dalton, whether they're the bullies or the guys in the snowball fight, that don't need to be overdeveloped. But I think a pitfall that a lot of people could fall into, including myself, is to really develop those characters. And I really wanted to stay true to it being a story from Sam's point of view, and stay solid onto his character. So that's why Sam has no siblings, and that's why I made the decision that his parents would be mostly absent. And same with Blaine's parents and Blaine's brother already being, I guess, kind of out of the picture. I just didn't want a lot of extra characters that I had to worry about. I really wanted to stick with the core characters and tell the story. I knew that Quinn would be a pretty big character that I'd have to develop because of her relationship with Sam, and I'm actually pretty glad about that. I think Quinn, in that section of season 2, is probably one of my favorite characters in the show. Then the show went and made her batshit crazy, but I'll keep my opinion to myself. Anyway, so I really like how mature she is and how she really does care in season 2. So I really I'm glad that I did take the time to develop her a little bit more than most of the supporting characters. The only other character that was, I think, really supported well, and that I did not expect when I first started writing, was Sam's mom. I had never intended Sam's mom to come back in any kind of good sense. You really see how, as a writer, I vilify her in the first section. Because I never anticipated her to come back and be a rock for Sam. But as I started writing and realized that Sam really did need someone to keep him grounded, and that he would eventually need someone to fall back on when everything came crashing down, I liked the idea of bringing his parents into some kind of realization. And I really like the idea of having that scene in the hospital where he's, loosened up and really tells his mom straight up, you do make me feel worse about myself. And that's a hard conversation to have, but I'm glad that they did have it, because I think that now Sam's mom has become one of my favorite characters to write. I think she is an amazing person to make the changes that she made, and I'm really excited to further... I don't want to give too much away. I'm really excited to keep writing her character in the sequel-ish that I'm writing right now. I think she's a great character, and I'm really excited to see her come into play more. As far as other characters went, canon characters, I really just touched on them. Kurt, I really just dabbled with. Finn had that conversation that was unscripted, that was not in the show, with Sam before sectionals. That kind of felt like something Finn would do. And Brittany, just kind of throwing in random Brittanyisms, and Santana really just coming off as a bitch. I really just kind of laid those characters pretty flat. I didn't make them very static or interesting, or not interesting, but just past what they already were. But I'm really glad that everything happened the way it did. I think that the characters are growing, and I think that, again, the characters are different than the ones that we see over the show, but they evolve differently. They were written right around the same time, and they were written differently, and that's what I love about fan fiction, is you get to see a different side of these people. I am writing a continuation, sort of Still Fighting It, much more fun. I'll have a separate video about that later, but I am going to say that you really do get to see both Sam and Blaine grow past what we already have. I think that, I don't want to give too much away, but you'll see them grow, and I think that's going to be really exciting, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see them grow, and to see Quinn continues to get developed in this continuation. And there's some other characters that pop in and out that weren't there before. So I'm really excited. I hope that you guys kind of got a little bit of an insight to how I wrote with characters in mind, and why I made some of the decisions. I know a lot of people were wondering about the siblings, Sam's siblings, and it's really just the show hadn't released that he had any siblings when I was writing it, and I didn't want to be bogged down. And kind of the same thing with him being poor. It's just not an issue in Still Fighting It, because it wasn't an issue when I started writing, and that's a conflict that I didn't think needed to be brought up in a story that already had so much conflict with Sam. I guess the only other note that I really want to make about developing the characters is how I wanted to write Sam in first person, because I wanted everyone to see it from Sam's point of view, and that, I think, writing in first person developed Sam more than any other technique would have, which is why I feel really close to Sam, and I'm really glad that I did it the way that I did. I hope that by developing these characters in that way, you guys as readers felt that they stuck true to the characters, but you saw them in a different way. And I hope that you guys understand how the characters evolved into what they are in the story, and why they're different than the show, but in a good way. Next up, I'm hoping to have a video out here soon about the music, and why I decided to put music and have such a pivotal role in the series. So stick around. I will be back with more on music next time. Thanks a lot, guys.